Theatresports is A. an improv format invented by Keith Johnstone, or B. a dancing troupe in China. If you answered B, well, you're right. But you didn't understand what this channel is about. So Theatresports is a format, one of the first formats invented by Keith Johnstone, and this is the perfect occasion to talk about this great man and about his philosophy, which is one of the cornerstones of improv. What is really interesting with these techniques is that they matter just as much as what is happening on the side of the scene. Theatresports is a competitive format inspired by pro wrestling. It is a match between two teams of 3 players on average, sometimes more, sometimes less. Besides the teams, you also have an MC, who will open the show, and 3 judges who have a very important role. They will score each scene with points ranging from 1 to 5. You also have a music and sound improviser, the sound imp, and a lighting improviser. Sometimes to begin Theatresports, young improvisers do the first part of the show. That's what we call the 10-minute game. The team challenge each other. For example, we challenge you to the best scene inspired by a fairy tale, or we challenge you to the most positive scene. The idea here is to have challenges as varied as possible. Sometimes the judges are the ones giving the challenges. Challenges may involve both teams together, like one-on-one games. After this introduction game, you move on to the free impro, which lasts about 15 minutes. It is a kind of mini-class directed by an experienced improviser who reveals some of the secrets about impro. But it's not a boring lecture either. The idea is just to showcase a few games and explain what they help us to achieve. Once again, it's optional. You don't always see a free impro in the Theatresports. Then it's the main event. But you have 2 variations. The first one is for the beginner teams. It's called a Danish game. You don't have any judges, just an MC, also called an ombudsman. At the end of each challenge, he or she will ask the audience to yell the name of the team they like the most. The winning team receives 5 points, and they move on to the next challenge. One extra element, the penalty basket. A basket is put on the side of the stage. If a player does or says something offending the audience, they can ask for him to be put off game for 2 minutes, in which case the player will go on the side of the stage and puts the basket on his head.
Shame! Shame! Shame, shame, shame!
Another variation is the regular challenge match. One team makes a challenge, but really throws it down in a clear and defiant way, like the brave gladiators of the theater arena that they are. The other team accepts or rejects the challenge. If they reject it, the judges will ask why and the team will have to justify. Then the judges will decide whether to sustain or overrule this objection. Roughly, it goes like this. We challenge you to a scene with a space beaver. We reject this challenge. On what grounds? There is no beaver in the theater. Overruled. You are actors, you can perfectly act out a beaver. Okay, so we reject it on the grounds that is silly and retarded. Sustain. But you will put your head in the penalty bucket because there are kids in the theater and you just swore. The judges can also reject the challenge if it's too redundant or too vague. For example, we challenge you to a scene that is a spin-off of a great space opera saga with a female character in the lead role. That's Rogue One. The audience can also balk at a challenge, in which case the judges will decide whether or not they support this balking. So sometimes it can lead to a big chaos in the theater, but actually it's quite fun. When a challenge is accepted, the challenging team starts first. Then the judges score it, and then the other team plays. By the way, it is perfectly fine for them to prepare their scene while the first team is playing. The second team is scored by the judges, and then it's their turn to challenge. There is no fixed duration for these scenes. The players or the judges can stop them whenever they want. So you can have a 30-second scene with 4 players and then a solo scene of 10 minutes. Note that an important role of the judges is to kill the boring scenes. To do that, they have a horn. If one of them honks for boring, the scene is stopped immediately. Sometimes the judges simply wave down the stage lights. The team is still scored for their scene and we move on with the show. Sometimes we also have hell judges, who sit behind the audience. Their role is to check if the audience is bored during a scene. If this happens, they can switch on a red light that only judges can see. In that case, it is strongly advised to honk for boring. The show ends when the judges decide it. Usually you try to end on a good scene. The team with the most points win and is awarded a trophy. Not a nice one. Like you take 2 pieces of junk at the back of the theater, you glue it together in a toilet bowl cleaner. Actually, it's quite important. There, that's the Theatresports. And even if it looks simple, beneath lies the whole philosophy of Keith Johnstone. Theatresports was played for the first time in 1977 by those who later founded the Loose Moose Theater. One of the objectives of this format is to take risk, which is a concept very dear to Johnstone and of great importance. You are not here to play games, but to tell stories. But I still see a lot of theater sports where the games are the rule and not the exception. That's what I call the whose line is it anyway syndrome. Many troops play the same games all the time but change the wrapping around it. They call it a theater sports, a maestro, or a title with bad wordplay, but at the end of the day they are still playing games coming straight from the improv encyclopedia. It is a bit like serving bananas all the time and then you go, hey, I'm gonna make you a steak, but you are just serving steak-shaped bananas. It doesn't work. Challenges must be risky and diverse. We are trying to excite the creativity of the other team and trigger the curiosity of the audience. So change the duration of the scenes, the number of players, the genre, comedy or drama, or change the decor. Usually in theater sports you have a box full of costumes, props and random decor elements available. Well, you need to go boldly where no other improviser has ever been before. From there we draw another consequence. Taking risk means failing regularly. That's how it is. It's bound to happen. But like I said in previous video, that's actually a good thing. However, you need to learn how to deal with failure to ensure the quality of the show. You need to stay positive and keep smiling even when you fail. Audiences like people who fail with panache and keep their morale high. Your goal as a player is to get the audience to want to bring you home after the show. Likewise, when you go on stage, show your enthusiasm. Be confident, but don't look arrogant. Audiences don't like that. Be honest and vulnerable. Show some good nature, both to the audience and to the other team. Because even if you are selling competition, it's important to show that you are acting out this competition. So it's perfectly fine to help the other team during their scene. You are here to make a good show, not to win a prize. That's why you give shitty trophies, so the players are interested in the scenes and not in the victory. Keith Johnstone says that the player must look like happy, benevolent creatures released from the cages. That's also why the judges exist. Somehow they are the exact opposite of the players, a figure of authority, serious and severe, that will unite the players and the audience against them. And now you see that everything is designed to bring the players and the audience closer together. The 10-minute game shows to the audience how hard impro can be and strengthens the empathy for the players. The free impro reveals the secret of impro, which creates some kind of intimacy with the audience. But on top of that, we give to the audience something they like a lot, punishing bad people. Judges kill the boring scenes and give penalties for bad behavior. Once this punishment has been given, the players can keep going without any fear of frustration from the audience. If you fail, you immediately pay your debt to the audience, so no worries, you can keep playing. And that's the philosophy of the theater sports, removing the fear from the player's side while making them accountable for the performance. So the advice I'm going to give you comes directly from Keith Johnstone. But since I can't cover everything, my first advice is to become a member of the ITI, the International Theatre Sports Institute. Because theatre sports, like all Johnstone's format, is under license. That means you cannot play it without an authorization. And to get it, you need to be part of the ITI. So I know you will tell me, yeah, if I do a theatre sports, what are you gonna do about it? Nothing. Yeah, right, stealing, cheating, it's a thing. But I really want to encourage you to become a member of the ITI. First, because it's a goldmine of information, the documents and the resources you will get access to are really worth it. Second, it's a network that allows you to connect with a lot of improvisers from around the world and some really high-profile people like Patty Styles, for example. Finally, because it's normal to pay the creators of formats, just like it's normal to pay your rights to the author of a play. On a side note, the price of the performance rights for these formats is really nothing compared to the average price for playwright rights. That being said, let's go back to the practical side of things and talk about the role of the MC. The MC is not there to shine, but to get the audience to relax and to explain simply and efficiently what's happening. She or he introduces the players and the judges, their role and the rules of the game. She or he recaps the points given by the judges and ensures a smooth transition between games. So an MC is not there to make jokes or tell the audience that they are about to see the most amazing show of their lives. That's what stand-up comedians will tell you. The worst introduction you can give to an artist is to tell the audience how amazing he or she is. It just puts too much pressure on them.
And I got to open for you, and you got mad at me because I said I introduced you and said he's the best comedian in the world. And you did your set, and it must have never left your brain because the second you got off stage, you found me and said, "Don't fucking put pressure on a person like that."
The MC must be like the best friend of the audience. The good guy who explained that it's okay to interact and participate during the show, but it shouldn't give them the impression that they're expected to give crazy, witty, funny suggestions. It's not their role. And the MC cannot be the buddy of the judges, who are the authority figure of the show. So even when he asks them for their scores, he does it gallantly. And the score of the judges for this scene is... well, they are still discussing, they are debating the scene, the suspense is rising in the audience. And the judges' score for this scene is... you move it, fatty! Let's talk about the judges. Even if they don't play, they have a very important role. First, they must show some authority, so no silly hats or costumes. In general, they wear long black robes just like real judges. They maintain the rhythm of the show, they give motivation or guidance regarding the start or the end of a scene. They clarify the challenges if needed, they validate or reject the challenges to make sure we have enough diversity during the show. That's also why they shouldn't be afraid of killing bad scenes, even before they start to be completely awful. It's always better to kill a mildly boring scene than wait for it to turn into a nightmare for the audience and the players. However, the judges cannot simply act as death angels. To make a good show, they can also help the players, either by side coaching them, or by telling them to speak louder, or to end the scene quickly, or to bring more variety in their challenges, or by warning them about a certain type of behavior. Finally, regarding the scores, the judges shouldn't be shy. Giving 3s or 2s all the time is quite boring. Don't hesitate to give a 5 or a 1, even if the audience riots against it. This will add to the good atmosphere of the show and encourage the audience to participate. And finally, it will help ensure that you have a clear winner at the end of the show. Ending on a tie is not really satisfying for the audience. Voila, that's all on this format. I hope you liked it. I would like to say a big thank you to the board members of the ITI who helped me with this video. If you want to know more about the ITI and how you can become a member, I will leave a link in the description below. If you have questions about the advantages of becoming a member of the Institute, ask in the comments and I will reply gladly. Thank you for watching the video and for sharing it, especially. See you around. Go watch some improv and better. Do some. Goodbye.
I was lying on the grass of Sunday morning.